Hello there, it's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday, and we all know what that means. Another riveting episode of Behind Breaking Bond. Introduce yourself.
Hey, it's Andy Kahn, and no, my fingers, unlike some producer from last week, are not going to reach out and engage in this. Director of Victim Services, Crime Stoppers. I have an axe to grind.
An axe to grind,
This right here, and I have a legitimate axe to grind. So I was perusing, like most people do, through the Harris County budget because it's really fun to read. And I came upon page 55. And I noticed this little thing that said that there's a budget being requested. They want to allocate about $2.3 million as an incentive, and to incentivize defendants charged with misdemeanors to appear in court. And that kind of raised a little red flags to me. Number one, my first thought was, does that mean we have a problem with defendants actually going back to court?
Wouldn't you have to spend money on trying to get them to show
We're
up?
trying to put logic into
Sorry.
And I'm going, all right, what are the incentives? Is it like a gift card?
Right, they
Do
give
I
them
get a
money.
bus pass? Do I get like free pizza if I show up?
Please show
Do
up
I
in
get
court.
a ticket to the Astros game? I mean, I kind of want enough, so I'd be very interested today if that is discussed, what the incentives are. And of course, I was looking for the quid pro quo. Are there any incentives for victims? I'm on page 698 of the budget, and I just hadn't seen any incentives for victims. So again, semblance of fairness and balance. You're going to give incentives for defendants to show up in court. You got to do the same for victims.
And
That's my rant.
And is it surprising that people are not showing up for court that after they've out on bond forever? No.
I don't know. I was under the impression that that was not an issue, but evidently it must be an issue because we want to give $2.3 million.
An expensive issue it is.
If I was a reporter, I would probably
You'd be a good one too.
I would probably want to ask that question. Define what the incentives are. Wouldn't you want to know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I want to know.
All right.
Also joining me, Sydney, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sydney Zeicher, the director of the Safe Community Institute. Andy's handler.
He needs
I'm failing at my job miserably.
Are you going to get fired?
Maybe.
Hey, tell us about the Crime Stoppers Resource Center. You've been working on a
Yes.
lot of info. Kind of first explain what you all have been looking at.
Mhm. So I'm going to go back a little bit. A need that Houstonians have been bringing to us for years, Andy, years. Yeah, years. Is where they can find easily accessible, digestible crime statistics in one place that makes sense to
The normal person,
normal
yeah,
person.
right.
And so as we look to be a organization that meets needs, we have decided to launch a research center. It's been in the works for a very long time, and we will be launching officially for the public on September 1st, so next week. But really, we are focusing on 6 categories of felony level crimes. They're not I'm not saying specific offenses. I'm saying categories that we've put into just kind of everyday terms. So we're looking at homicide, aggravated robbery, aggravated sexual assault, aggravated assault, felon in possession of a weapon, and then human trafficking related charges. We've created very in-depth interactive dashboards for each of those 6 categories that any community member will be able to go to our research center microsite, look at basically anything that they're interested in knowing about cases filed in Harris County, starting in 2015 all the way to current. Things like how have the number of cases filed changed over time? How many cases are in each of our courts? What have been the bail and bond outcomes of each of these cases? What is the disposition of these cases? All kinds of information, and we're just expanding from there. So we're kind of starting with this as a base level, and we have also things like geolocations and that kind of thing that will be coming later. So you can see directly in your neighborhood how has crime changed over the past several years, and are these things that our city and county are doing, are they helping? Are we seeing a decline in crime or not? You guys were talking about misdemeanor crimes, but we're also now able to track the length of cases in each court. We're seeing murder cases that are sitting in pretrial 5-6 years. And I mean, you jokingly said who's coming back for this, but that's a real concern. We have such a case backlog. And so we're trying really hard to give a transparent view in a way that's really easy for community members to understand.
It would be really easy for like reporters like Randy Wallace.
Don't talk to him.
You think? You don't have to answer that.
Block, can you like block him out?
So, you know, something that's unique about the Research Center is that it not only gives the statistical analysis of it and the data for you to look at and figure out whatever you want to figure out, but it also has an entire educational center where it lists every single offense, what that offense means, what all these terms mean that are used within our justice system.
That's great.
What are the roles and responsibilities of local leaders? So we've really tried to take what we're great at Crime Stoppers, which is education, and couple it with a more technical component, which is data analytics. And so we're really grateful to our whole research team that's working really hard, seriously nonstop, to make sure that this is ready. And it'll be one beautiful site for you.
And it's going to be September the 1st.
September the 1st.
One of the things too that I think sounds fascinating is you have found such a difference in courts as far as how long it's taking cases to go to trial. And you mentioned before, like a murder case, 6+ years. I mean, you have to wonder what's that going to do to the case. In 6 years, witnesses could be leaving town, or they don't remember as well, or that's true. Yeah, I mean, you have to wonder.
There's a lot of elements that come to play here that we hope will help inform the everyday citizen about what's actually going on. A problem that we've seen is that we've had to spend hours and hours and hours looking at one case at a time, and this just opens a door to looking at so much more, much quicker, being able to make informed decisions for our programming, but also anyone that needs to make an informed decision about our justice system is free to access this. So this is not limited to one person, one party, this is literally a resource for everybody.
And I think it could come in real handy when, again, this November is going to be very telling. That, I mean, we've been doing Breaking Bond for almost 2 years, right?
Yeah,
close to
going on 2 years this fall.
And again, we're not telling you who to vote for. But what we're doing is we're giving you factual information that basically comes from the court system to let you know what some of these judges, the ones that seem to really love to let people out on 6, 7, 10, 12 felony bonds. I mean, you know, this is information that you're going to want to know before the November election. And we're going to be doing things too to kind of, through this and through Breaking Bond, to kind of remind you of some of the things that we've reported on before and what some of the judges have done, basically.
Let me ask Sydney this. How did your team do all this? I mean, it sounds great.
Yeah.
But to me, the behind the scenes story, the backstory, how did this all come about?
It's been quite a labor of love, hate. But we started at the very beginning of the year with a simple sit-down meeting. Andy and I met with a plethora of people from the district clerk's office and said, this is our vision. This is what we want to do. Is this possible with the information that's already publicly available on your website, or is there something else that we have to do? Long story short, we had to make a very formal historical request for data sets starting in 2015, coming through at that point, current day. But there is a publicly available several sets of data on the district clerk's office. The problem is that they just look like a bunch of characters on a piece of paper, in a document when they come in. And so we hired a data analyst. We have several computer science interns that also work here full time now. And they've taken all of that, every single case file, anything you can possibly think of, and they've compiled it into several algorithms that report daily. So they pull information, they pull every single thing that's reported to the district clerk's office, and we cross-check it with Texas DPS reports that come in monthly. And so we have checks and balances there.
Yeah, and the most important thing is, again, it's all public documents. It's, no one has to question, well, where did this come from, or who said this, or who can you attribute this to? It's their own documentation. It's their own court systems records.
It's public information that the community should and does have, but not in a way that is accessible. So
Right.
It's user friendly.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
some of the other databases or dashboards that I've looked at, I mean, literally, I spent 5-10 minutes trying to decipher what the heck they meant.
Right, you almost have to have a real legal background to sort of get through it and get through some of the verbiage.
So this will be like something that even Randy Wallace and myself.
So I looked at it as a lens of, if I were a middle schooler and I needed to do a school project, could I go on this with absolutely no knowledge of much of anything of our justice system?
Right.
They find out what I need, be able to access the information that I need to access, and write an entire report about what's happening.
Yeah.
And I think that our team has come up with that.
Well, and you know, that's the thing that you've really, I think, kind of exposed in a way, is that people that, if you don't have a job that's related to the criminal justice system, you don't really know. And why should you know? If you've never been in the court system, you're not going to know. You got your own life to deal with, and you've got other issues. But this is a way where you can easily access it, and it's all going to make sense to you without having to have a law degree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, we have elements all the way down to videos explaining how and where to click to find whatever information you're looking for. So I really hope it's a good resource.
This
for
is, to
everybody.
me, it's precedent setting. It's trendsetter. And I go back because I started looking at the murder stuff in March of 20, late of 20, started documenting all that, and all. It kind of all boils down. Everything's kind of come home from when we first started looking at all this now to, you know, much better than my little chicken scratch. Or as you like to say, I never see you walk around except of a paper. You always have these.
You know, I created this, or we collectively as a team created this resource simply to save trees. So you would quit printing stuff. I don't know that it's gonna happen, but like that was a goal.
And you know, it's one of those things too. I mean, obviously crime is an issue here. You know, we all live here. We want to live in a safe city, a safe community. And the best thing that you can do is get knowledgeable about things and know what's going on. And it sounds like with your data, you would even be able to specifically kind of figure out what's going on in your own neck of the woods kind of a thing.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
very important.
Absolutely. Our first round that's being released in September will not have that, but we are really close, say maybe another couple months, to have a whole map of the whole Harris County, and it won't show all the way pinpoint exact locations, but you can look at generally your neighborhood, your neck of the woods,
Sure.
and you will be able to overlay. So what did it look like in 2018, 2019, 2020? How has that changed? You want to see just homicide? Great. Here's what that looks like. You want to see just aggravated assault? Here's what that looks like.
Right.
And you went back to 2015.
2015. Yes, that's as much as we could chew for right now. We have.
Now, how did you pick 2015? Just
I picked a chunk that I thought we could do.
Yeah.
We're
You
hoping
didn't
to
put
go.
stuff like in a hat and do what I would have done.
You know, I did a dance, and then I just felt it in my soul.
But, you know, keep in mind, I think what's really going to be telling is this whole multiple felony bond thing basically took off 2019, correct? Early
The
2019.
numbers certainly indicate that.
Yes.
But this is why I'm really going to be really interested in going back to 2015, because the numbers that, for example, the district attorney's office would put out,
Right.
or the numbers that the Justice Administration, everything starts at 2018.
Yeah.
Nothing goes back, right?
And it's important to look, you know, through different administrations. You don't want to
Right.
just say, hey, this is what's happening right now. You want to see historically back. And so we've already begun the analysis of crime starting all the way to 1980 and coming forward. That's just a huge endeavor.
Yeah,
and as soon as that's ready and available, we'll make it publicly available. Of course, everything we do will be publicly available.
And and we've said before, I'm sure there have been times in 2014, 2015, 2016, where you may have had a defendant out on 2 bonds. I mean, that may have happened, but it would have been very rare.
We know it's probably happened, but we know that, like you said, it would be extreme because we never focused on it. We never.
Right, it was never an issue.
And I've talked with other reporters as well. Did we ever do stories on guys on multiple felony bonds that went out to commit murder or other violence? And it wasn't there because
Right.
it wasn't happening.
Right.
And the numbers from 2018 through current year clearly indicate the rise of defendants out on more than one felony bond. So that's what I'm going to be really curious.
And remember, sometimes it gets confusing because there is a federal order when it comes to misdemeanor bond reform. Everybody pretty much gets a PR bond, and it's for non-violent crimes in most cases. And that's totally understandable. But why we've been harping on this so long is because you have violent ex-cons that are walking among us, and they're free from jail on 6, 7, 8,
Not
whatever.
only that, but one of the things we've noticed is that, and we're going to talk a little bit about this on tonight's Breaking Bond segment, but I've noticed in some of the recent cases I've pulled up, defendants that are on bond in different counties at the same time. And then it appears that the different counties have no clue that the defendant's out on multiple bonds. For example, I got a guy that was on 4 felony bonds in Montgomery County, and that was in June of 22. 4 felony bonds. He's got a sheet right here. He's got 5 prior felony convictions, 2 prior felony convictions in Montgomery County, 7 So he's on bond in Montgomery County. Then he picks up a felon in possession of a weapon charge, gun, in July of 22 in Harris County. They give him a PR bond. In Montgomery County, someone notified me that they had no idea that he was out on bond in Harris County. Now because we pointed this out, they know, but it made me wonder how many others are out there that we don't know.
Yeah.
This is such a need across the nation of being able to share this kind of information in a timely manner.
Yeah.
We're seeing this, we kind of saw a change we always talk about this, in serial killers and how that wasn't as possible because counties started sharing information with the age of the internet. But now, because of technology, but now there's so many cases and so many bonds that we're not seeing the same level or the level needed to keep our community safe from county to county because we're not sharing enough information. So there needs to be a solution. But in order for there to be a solution, we've got to be better at seeing the real landscape. And being able
and you also have to accept that we have a problem.
Yeah, the magnitude.
You got to own it.
Yeah.
Instead of keep punting or pretending it's not happening.
And yes, the Texas Constitution requires that judges set bail. But judges have the authority to say, hey, you're out on your 3rd one. You picked up another criminal charge. I'm not giving you another one. You're going to jail. You're going back to jail. They have the authority, the ability to do that. But they don't.
No, I will give a shout out to one of the judges, and that's the 179th. And one of the reasons I'm going to give a shout out to Judge Martinez is because I noticed that the magistrate in the 179th had a tendency to give PR bonds to defendants charged with felon in possession of a weapon, a firearm. Then I noticed that when the actual elected judge came on into her, fiefdom there in her bench, that she took and then revoked the PR bond and gave a cash bond, which is what you should do to these defendants. That's the only judge that I'm actually seeing that has done this. So,
and we are seeing judges that they are setting bonds higher. I mean, we've really seen that a lot, right?
We're going back and increasing, bonds just in general.
Yeah, there's not just a $20,000 bond where they're really setting high bonds. But again, the most, I think, disturbing thing is that you have all these people that are charged with capital murder that are out on bond. Okay, when you go to trial, you're facing one or two possibilities. Well, you could be acquitted, but you could also spend the rest of your life in prison or be executed. How many people are going to say, okay, I'm going to go back to court and take my chances? I wouldn't. I mean,
Remember that right here, you heard it. If Randy Wallace is charged with capital murder,
don't let me out of
bond, he is not going to show
I am
up.
gone. I am long gone. And I try to say this every single time. This is open. This is an open discussion. We would love to have current criminal district court judges and those running for criminal district court judge this November. Give us a shout. Join us here on the live stream behind Breaking Bond. We'll interview you for a Breaking Bond segment, but we want to hear from judges.
And I think the public deserves to know.
Yes, yes. You and I elect these people. We put them in office. And there were a few judges that they didn't make it through the primary. And I think one of the reasons was because people are paying attention to what these judges are doing. And they've had enough of it.
No, and again, props to you, Sydney, you and your team for doing this. No one else in the country, to my knowledge, will have something like this. And this is going to be so beneficial to the citizens of Harris County, to public officials, elected officials. And the best thing about it is facts, bare bones. There's no, quote, axe to grind.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Special interest.
Yeah,
there's no partisan.
There's no opinion on these numbers.
It's hard documentation. Is what it is. I mean, you're using what the court system is using. Every Breaking Bond segment we've ever done, we're telling you information that you could go get yourself. Well, you have a life. We don't. So we find it for you.
So help us save some trees, but tonight's segment, again, we're focusing on one of the cases, yet another capital murder defendant whose bonds were reduced once, twice, gets out, reoffends again. And, we've seen this time and time again.
Yes, we have. Tune in tonight at 9 o'clock for Breaking Bond. Thank you so much for joining us. This is on the Fox 26 YouTube channel, so be sure to
This is for Raymond this week, so.
You can catch every Behind Breaking Bond live stream on the Fox 26 YouTube channel. Please watch and please share. And thank you so much for being with us. Bye.